I'll I
Got
like
it.
how it tells you, like, hey, you're being recorded, by the way, like, keep it straight, right? But I'm gonna let Karen start it off tonight. We're gonna start by talking about kind of being your own leader, and then I'm gonna lead into imposter syndrome a little bit. So
So
Karen, I'm gonna mute myself.
basically what I got is I'm just going to pretty much read off my notes. It was a message from Bishop T.D. Jakes. If you have not heard of him, you have got to go look him up on YouTube. Powerful, powerful speaker. I will share this particular video in the chat. But so that it's not super long, I'm not like going to go like say something and then go off and on it, and then say something else and go off on it, because we're going to end this off with going into imposter syndrome, which is something Amber and I talked about the other night. Guilty. But if you guys have any questions, like just ask me or message me later. I know that we can watch the same podcast or listen to the same podcast, and we each have our own takeaways from it. So I am going to share the video in the Overcomers chat when this is all done, so that you guys can, it's like an hour and something long. So just heads up for that. But I sit here and listen to that stuff while I'm playing with my dog. So but it was pretty much about being the CEO of you. And if you know TD Jakes, he tells it like it is. And I just took some notes and I'm just going to go over those. So sometimes he said this and it kind of hit me, and I almost made this a zinger. So if you want to, you can. But sometimes it's more important to focus on being a job rather than getting a job, especially in what we do. I thought that was really good of what he says. We are our job. We use the products, we share the products, and that kind of thing. So that made sense to me. And I refuse to be a prison of the way people describe me. And he went into talking about taking the limits off of yourself from the labels that other people put on you. You have to be what you are, not what they call you, not what they say that you are. Like, I'm a high school dropout, right? I don't have a business degree, but here I am building my own business. So just because somebody calls you something doesn't mean, that you can't do something. Don't put a period at the end of something because you tried something and it didn't work out. Try something else or try it again. Like, they called and labeled Christ a carpenter, and then he who handled the wood wound up nailed to a tree. And I kind of went into a live about that, saying, don't be nailed to what they label you. If you only act on what people say you are, then you limit what the Holy Spirit can do in your life. There comes a point where you have to think for yourself and you have to move for yourself. Don't be limited. Don't be labeled. Don't put a period on it because you tried something and it didn't work. Don't think that you can't explore and that you can't evolve. The thing about comparing ourselves to others and why we shouldn't is because we don't have the same starting place. We all didn't start in the same place, right? So I can't have what you have because you started before I did, or you started after I did, or you started with different things, and you have different tools than I have. So you know what I mean? It's like, we can't compare each other because we didn't start in the same place. So we're not going to have the same things. We would have to start with the same things to have the same things. To get where you want to be, you have to pretty much date yourself. You have to get in touch with yourself. Like, when you're dating somebody, you're getting to know them. So you need to date yourself so you can get to know who you are, and you have to stop dating other people and explore yourself, if that makes sense. There are seeds and there are fruits, and we talk about this kind of stuff all the time in different Zooms. And you can be the one who is in the pictures, or you can be the one holding the light for the person who's taking the pictures, if that makes sense. Okay, I don't know. But stop getting stuck in what people expect you to do, and don't go around trying to live what everyone else expects of you. That's not your life. They don't raise your kids, they don't pay your rent, and they don't live your life. So that's not what you were created for. The moment you are exposed to something greater, you drop something lesser. So as soon as you're exposed to that something greater, your purpose, you're going to drop that lesser thing that you've been holding on to that's been holding you back. Being an entrepreneur and being in a job, like, it's a different mindset. So when you're in like a day job, Your coworkers might hate you, right? Like the coworkers that you're with in your 9 to 5, they might hate you because you have a different mindset. You're on a different level up here than they are. So they might not like you. And a lot of times there's some coworkers that's going to make your job there so much more miserable because you're on that whole other level and you know that there's something more out there and you want to go get it. They're not ready yet. They're not at that level. So they're not going to like you. And some people will even try to tear you down. So having a work ethic that will blow your mind is being an entrepreneur. Being self-sufficient is being an entrepreneur. Being lazy can be the worst thing that you can be. I think a lot of people have the misconception of being an entrepreneur and starting in network marketing as sitting around on your computer all day and being lazy. And that's not the case at all. So I think there should be different ways as we share our story, the work that we put in, because people don't always see the work that we put in. So sometimes in some way, as we're sharing our story, we can share that this is actual, like this is my job. This is not just me sitting at my computer all day or on my phone all day. We're actually sharing our story and we're actually helping people with their health goals and in building businesses for themselves. You will become what you tell yourself. You can't want the trophies and not work for them. So like if you're telling yourself going into network marketing or going into any kind of job like this, that it's a fast paycheck or that you don't deserve ranks and you just want to get that grocery money because you don't deserve that and you're not going to fight for something like that, you will become what you tell yourself. And then you can end up kind of stuck and trapped like that. And that's a little bit, I think, of what Amber's going to get in on. And if it's not the thing for you, it can be the thing that leads to the thing, right? Like I was in another company before that didn't work out. That wasn't my thing. All of those day jobs that I worked, not my thing. I wasn't happy where I was at. I liked what I was doing, but that's not where I was supposed to be, if that makes sense. So they were just jobs that I was doing because I applied for them because it was something that I knew how to do. So I stayed in that comfort area, if that makes sense. I don't want to be in that comfort area anymore. I don't want to do something just to pay the bills. I want to do something that is bigger and is better and is more so for my kids, for their future. So just because you try something and it fails, that fail can be the thing that leads you to the thing that you will succeed at. If you see something as an issue, that can be your stop sign. If you see something as an issue, that can be your stop sign. And I was talking to Amber yesterday. I made the comment of how I'm not good with words. Y'all can tell I'm kind of rambling. I get nervous. I'm not real good with words. And I tell myself that, and I let that be my stop sign from being creative with how I share my story and how I share the products. Oh my gosh, their stories are so clean. They're so creative. How do they do that? And then just like copy and paste their stuff, like, but you are that creative person. Don't let something that you think you're not good at stop you. Like, don't let that become your stop sign. When you let time or money or circumstances get in your way, that's going to be your stop sign. For 15 years, we let our circumstances and where we lived be our stop sign. And we stayed there in that bad neighborhood for 15 years. Money, living paycheck to paycheck. You have to take that chance. Because your circumstances and all of the things that you see as an issue can become your stop sign. God uses the most unlikely people for you. People who you don't even think like you, people who may be your enemy, quote unquote, just people you never got along with, even your type of people, like people you vibe with. If it's not somebody you vibe with, God can use that person for you. Relationships can be your greatest resource. Which I thought was funny because that's what we do. If you honor where you are with your best effort, even if it's not even if it's not that thing, it will lead you to it. But you have to put the effort in. You have to keep going. You have to keep showing up because you never know where it's going to take you. You have to dignify the $40 check to get the $40,000 check. You have to dignify where you are now and appreciate where you are now, so that when you get to where you're going, you appreciate that. And it's not like winning the lottery and you just go blow it all, and you actually go and you put the effort in for the work, and that helps you appreciate that 40. If you're not putting in the effort for the work, that 40 is not going to mean anything to you. So when you get the 40,000, that's not going to mean anything to you either, and then it's going to end up being gone. Like, I hear all the time promoters coming in and hitting all these ranks, and then they just leave, and I'm like, that blows my mind, right? So like, you have to dignify the 40 to get to the 40,000. You can't just go after the 40,000 and not respect the 40. God gives you an opportunity, and what you do with that opportunity is your gift back to him. God didn't make the table or the chair. He just made the tree, and the rest of it was up to us. God provides the tools for us to build our house. He doesn't give us our house. This business and all of the training and all of the stuff that comes with it, this nutrition, they are tools for us to live better. They are tools for us to build something better for not just ourselves, but our families and our future grandkids. Christ was a carpenter, but like, you know, he didn't just show up and be like, okay, here's the chair. He showed you how to make it. God has given every creature a defense. Every single creature has a self-defense mechanism. Our brain is our defense. We have to use our brain. We have to learn new things. We have to keep growing. We have to keep going. We have to just keep moving, because as soon as we stop, as soon as we sit down and we get comfortable, that's when we stay stuck. Don't worry about someone else and what they have or what they don't have. Build your shelter. God will bring you the fish, but you have to cook it. I don't know why I wrote that. That was funny, but I wrote it down. You have to build your shelter. You can't just expect God, okay, I wish for a house, I pray for a house, I wish for a house, I pray for a house, and then boom, a house pops up next door. He's going to give you the tools you need to build the house. And for me, it's this nutrition system. I'm feeling better, and that's got me living better, and I'm eating better, and I'm even working out. Didn't work out for 40 years of my life, and now I'm working out because I feel absolutely incredible on just the 3 steps in Sculpt, by the way. Like, that's it. And the business is providing me tools to grow and have the growth that I've had over this year. Like, y'all don't even know. Oh my gosh, where I was to where I am today is just absolutely mind-blowing. Once you envision where you're going, then you can tell what you don't need. Like, okay, this is where I'm going. I'm not going to need this. I'm not going to need this. Like, if you're packing for a vacation, you pack for what you need for where you're going, right? If it's going to be someplace warm, you pack bikinis and shorts and all of that. But if you don't need it, don't take it, right? You pack according to where you're going, but you only need what's necessary to get you where you need to go. Honestly, personally, if I'm on the beach, I don't need to pack nothing. It is where we're trying to go that it's not where you're trying to go that is the problem. It's not the goal we are trying to achieve. It is what we are willing to leave behind to get there. And it was something to go with that. God's trying to birth something good and new in your life, but you can't grab onto it if you're still holding on to this back here. If you're still holding on to that comfort zone, if you're still holding on to that guilt, that shame, that habit, that whatever it is, you can't grab on to that something new and grow into it if you're still holding on to this. So it's about leaving behind what we don't need and what does not serve us, and where we're at. Where you came from will always try to pull you back. You have to break that chain. Do not underestimate the pull back down. You have to go faster and harder at your goals and at where you're trying to get to in order to break free from that pull, because that pull is going to keep trying to get you. That pull is going to keep trying to pull you back down. People are going to, whether it's people telling you you can't do it, whether it's people telling you you'll never make it, whether it's people telling you it's a scam and it's never going to work out, right? Like, you have to break free from those people. You have to break free from those things, and you have to go at your goal harder and faster to break free from that, instead of giving up on it. Like I've seen so many people do. even if nobody believes in you, even if nobody believes in you. The Wright brothers built their first airplane in a bicycle shop. Nobody believed in them. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have degrees. They didn't have none of the things. And they built their dream in a bicycle shop. They didn't have any backing or any of the things. If you're going into a business just to make money, you are 80% more likely to go out of business, because more businesses that are built just on the income don't last, because that's not a substantial why. Real businesses' success lies in going into business based not on their need, but on their customers' need. If you're going into business for yourself, for what you want, for what you need right now, your business is not going to last. But if you go into business with a need for someone else, then your business can last a lot longer than that. That is being the CEO. That is working smarter, not harder. You're in business for them. And I like to say sometimes I use the products for me. Even if I wasn't a promoter, I would still talk about the products. I would still use the products, even if I wasn't a promoter, but I am a promoter, so I get to share them on a much larger scale. And I'm not a promoter for myself. I'm not a promoter for myself. I am a promoter to try to reach other people who were in the same situations and the same struggles that I was in. That's why I'm here. So when you go into business for customers' needs, your business is more likely to last. You don't have to talk someone into something they need. Being a solution, bring the solution that the person needs, and the people will come. Great things come from small beginnings. Never let not having enough stop you from getting up. When it was time for us to move, that was one of the changes that I had to make in my life when I overcame my depression. By the grace of God, He gets the glory. Moving was one of our things. We had no money. We didn't have any money. When we moved out of a government HUD-based apartment complex, we had no money to move. Like, it was like tighter than, I don't know what's tighter than that, but it was tight. And we literally took every penny we had. So don't let not having enough stop you from getting up. Bishop T. Jakes even talked about how he almost quit. In his 20s, he almost quit what he was doing. It took Stephen Furtick 15 years to build the church the way that he has it. It took Katie 7 years to put money down for her dream home. So if it's not happening overnight, that's okay. That's okay. Somebody is still seeing your story. Somebody is still hearing your story, and somebody is still watching you. So keep going. Strive to be effective, not famous. I know we always have to add to our networks and get fresh faces and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not worried about being verified or famous or on, YouTube famous or all of the things that are that. I want to be effective in the few 200 subscribers that I have on that channel. I want to be effective in my videos. I don't want to be famous. You know what I mean? What you say about you has nothing to do, what they say about you has nothing to do with your destiny. That goes back to them not living your life. They don't live your life. They don't raise your kids. They don't pay your bills. What they say doesn't have anything to do with where you're going. They are just distractions to move you away from where God has placed you. Being successful is a mindset. It's a way of taking control of your own destiny. Entrepreneurship is a mindset. Network marketing, mindset. Your employer at your job has no vision for your need. My bosses, I actually have decent ones in this part-time job that I have. They're great, but they have no vision for my need. They have no idea what I need in life. I love them to death. They're great to hang out with while I'm at work, but they have no need in my life for what I've gone through or for what my kids need. They are your how to your what, but you can't fully succeed without your why. You guys need to restart with why. I don't care. I ain't even gonna go into it, but y'all need to read that book all the way to the end. I'm not just a cashier who makes so much an hour. I'm not what they label me. I am so much more than that. You cannot limit me as just being one thing. I am a mom. I am a wife. I am a depression survivor. I am a mental health warrior. I am just like, I am a Christian. I am a daughter of Christ. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a network marketer. I'm all of the things, right? I am not just one thing. I'm not just a high school dropout, right? You can't label yourself to just one thing. Being an entrepreneur, you have to take flight. You have to discover your own wings. You have to let go of all of the things that are holding you down, and you have got to go fly. It is taking responsibility for your own life. And I think that's a lot of reason why people dip out on network marketing. I think that's why a lot of people dip out on trying to build their own business, because they have to take control of their own life. They have to take responsibility for their own life. And that's a hard concept for a lot of people. So that's why I think a lot of people do leave the business, because they're not ready yet. It's about not being controlled by your circumstances or your situations. It's about getting a vision for where you want to be in your life. It's about setting that goal and dropping off things that are not relevant for where you are trying to go, so that you can focus on what is necessary, so that you can figure out where you want to retire. Stop asking God for tables and chairs when He is in the trees business. He gave us trees. He gave us the tools that we need to build our needs. Instead, ask Him for the tools. It's not just starting the business, but having the tools to build it and being a part of those. Oh, crap, I lost my place. And being a part of those tools are not only what you do and how you do it, but the core is to why you're doing it. When you wake up in the morning and you start doing your IPAs, why are you doing that? If you have to dig deeper to find out, then you have to take a break and dig deeper to find out, because it is so super important. People who are gifted cannot see that they're gifted. Gifted people, it makes them blind to their own gifts. They don't see that they're gifted. They don't see that they're inspiring people. They don't see that they're making a difference. And then they question themselves. And then he went in to talk about how everything is a rhythm. And that moment that you hesitate, you break that rhythm. And you don't want to break that rhythm while you're going after your goals. You don't want to break that rhythm while you're building something better for your family, while you're trying to live a healthier life, while you're going after something, that vision. Everything has a rhythm, and you don't want to break it. You don't want to hesitate. You want to go in on it. And if you have to go faster and harder to break those chains, then you have to. That frustration that you feel is God nudging you, that He has placed you in a position of movement, and you feel like something is broken because you're not moving. And some people are meant to stay grounded, and that's okay for them. Some people are meant to stay grounded, and they're happy with that. But just like when you go to the airport, only the ones with the ticket are going to get on the plane. Saul only wanted to kill David because David took his turn. David was flying. God called David to be king, not Saul. That's the only reason Saul wanted to kill David. So that's where we get into that comparison mode, and we need to get out of it. I don't want what they have. I want to get that myself. And that's one of the best things about this company, because the ranks are for everybody. We're all going to hit those ranks. We're all going to get those free vacations, right? We're all going to have our cars paid for in our time when it's our turn, right? But we have to keep showing up. We have to keep moving. We have to keep trying to help other people. Be careful with where you are and how you're spending your energy. If you're surrounded by people who don't inspire you, you need new people. And that's one of the greatest things I love about this company. Yes, your intentions absolutely matter. 100%. I didn't just hit that promoter button to just join network marketing and get a fast paycheck. I had no idea what I was doing when I hit that promoter option. I had only just started using the products, and I felt so good on the products. And I'm like, you know what? We have lived paycheck to paycheck for too long. Let's see what this does. So I hit that promoter option. And the first thing I did when I heard VIP bonus was scare myself out of it. I put that cap on myself. And I just threw like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't deserve no VIP bonus. I ain't do nothing to get that. I don't even know what I'm doing. What is this? I scared the living crap out of myself, and I just threw myself in training videos. And I kind of hid in the training videos, and I didn't talk to nobody for 2 weeks. Like, I could have had $800 in my pocket, right, to help my husband pay our rent. But no, we've got to take that cap off. You got to take that cap off. You got to take the limits that other people have labeled you with, that you've allowed yourself to label yourself with. I think sometimes it's not starting over. Sometimes it's refocusing. So sometimes if you need to take a break, take a day, step back, refocus your energy, refocus what it is you want, refocus why you're doing it, and then go do it. I think that's it. I was just reading the notes. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, ask me any questions, and I will share that Bishop Jake's video in with the Overcomers chat. But like, that was just so powerful. Like, you just got to take those limits off. And I'm guilty of that myself. You got to take the limits off. You don't take the limits off, and you're just going to stay where you're at, right? You're just going to stay doing the same things every day. You're going to stay not getting samples out. You're going to stay not hitting those ranks, not putting money down on your dream house. You know what I mean? You've got to take the limits off so that you can be the CEO of your life, because you're the only one living it. And God gave it to you for a purpose, and you got to find your purpose and go after it.
All right. I don't even know how to follow that one, but let's see. We are a half hour in. Do we want to keep going and plug through imposter syndrome? All right. I did the same thing in my first 2 weeks. I scared myself out of this business, and I scared myself out of this business for my entire first year. And imposter syndrome is something I dealt with a lot. I still deal with to this day. And so I'm sorry for labeling it overcoming imposter syndrome. I feel like it should say getting through imposter syndrome, not overcoming it, because it's not anything that you're ever going to overcome. It's something that you're going to be faced with multiple times in this business, even as you up level and you grow in your leadership and you rank up and all these great things, right? You're still going to be met with imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome, if you've never heard of it, it's basically that limiting belief. And just like Karen was saying, like, the only limitations that we have are the limitations that we put on ourselves. And it's up to us to decide, do we carry that or do we set that down? Do we carry it or do we set that down? And I had a lot of the same mindset shifts that I see in you guys a lot too. In my first 3 years here, tomorrow is 3 years that I've been with this business, but I want to talk about imposter syndrome tonight, as far as like your limiting beliefs and that story that you keep telling yourself of whether you're not worthy, whether you're not capable, whether you can or you cannot do something that you set your heart out to do. I listened to a podcast today, and I was listening to this guy talk about imposter syndrome. He was talking about it in the form of a broken soundtrack. So if you think about music, right? If you think about, like, you ever had like a song that like you hear it to this day and it just like brings you back to the same place when you heard it the first time, or it brings you back to middle school, it brings you back to high school, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's the song you guys played at your wedding, I don't know. But like, it's that soundtrack that takes you back into that same story, and you repeat that story in your head. And so I want you to think about the thoughts that you think about yourself. What is that soundtrack that you keep playing? And I apologize, I do have 2 pages of notes, so I'm gonna go as quick as I can. But what soundtrack are you playing in your head? These repetitive thoughts, these irrational thoughts, these limiting beliefs, these fears, these doubts that you have over yourself and your capabilities in this business. And one thing that Bob Heilig says all the time, he's like, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And when you can understand that, you can push through it. You can push through imposter syndrome every single time it slaps you in the face. And if you think about it in the form of a soundtrack, an internal soundtrack, if you listen to the same soundtrack over and over and over again, eventually you're going to add that to your personal playlist. Right. And so is that negative thought that you keep having over whether or not you can or cannot do this business, is that something that you want on your playlist? The fact that maybe you haven't had anybody join you in this business, is that something that you want to add to your playlist? Those things you have to keep in check. You have to keep in check. So that you don't keep yourself out of the game. I kept myself out for a very long time. And so I'm going to give you some things that I wrote down as far as like, how do you tackle that? Because it sounds great. Like we've talked about this before. We've talked about belief. We've talked about limited mindset. We've talked about all this before, but like sometimes it just takes hearing something a different way for it to really click in your brain. And it's not something that I can fix for you, but it's something that I can try to help give you a little tangible takeaways on, if that makes sense. And so what I want you to do as we're going into June 1st, tomorrow, can you write down your goals? Can you write down your goals? And I want you to write down on a piece of paper, on your vision board, whatever it may be, because I will tell you, what's the word? I foo-fooed that off for the longest time in making a vision board and writing down what my goals are. And every month I was just like, you just know what rank you're not yet. And so you just make that your goal. And it's very broad and it's very like, I don't even know how to get there, right? But you just say, okay, well, my goal is 4K because that's the very first rank in the company. That can't be your goal. I'm sorry, but that can't be your goal for June, okay? Your goal for June needs to be, I'm signing X amount of customers. I am introducing X amount of promoters into this business. I am selling X amount of samples per week because my family needs that $100 in sample money this week to pay off what? Blank. You write it down. Write down what your goals are, and I want you to write them down, but I want you to focus on the moment, like the instant that you write that on paper. I want you to listen to the thought that comes in your head, because there's going to be something where you're like, sell 10 samples, right? That is the broken soundtrack that we have to fix. Okay. So as you're writing down your goals for June, do not let me find out that you did not write down goals for June, okay? But as you're writing down your goals for June, listen to what you're telling yourself, because you are your biggest critic. Your brain, like Karen was saying, I'll share something with you that I heard, I thought it was so interesting. Your brain is meant to keep you safe. You'll hear that a lot. And I listened to the podcast I listened to today was talking about a study on physical trauma and emotional trauma, and like the hormones that are released in our brains. And so somebody who's gone through like physical trauma, they studied them and they studied the hormones released in their brains. And then they studied people who have gone through emotional trauma, like not anything that's physically happened to you, but like you think that somebody doesn't like you because of X, or you like these things that you create in your mind. The same chemicals released in the brain. So the brain doesn't know if it's a physical trauma or if it's an emotional trauma. And so can I tell you how strong you can be if you can control the emotions that are going on in your brain, right? If you can control the soundtrack that you're playing in your brain, the things that you're telling yourself every single day. And so number one, you have to remove the old thought. Easier said than done. Okay. Number two, replace it with a new one, right? So if I'm over here saying like, I'm not a good leader, what am I going to replace it with? I am capable of leading a 12K team, right? I'm replacing it with a new thought. Number three is you repeat that new thought. You repeat that good thing. You repeat that new thought until it becomes just as second nature as your broken soundtrack once was. But you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself grace, because we all have broken soundtracks in things that have happened in life, and maybe what you believe is true for yourself in your relationships, in your finances, in your health, in maybe you've tried to lose weight before and it's just you've never been able to accomplish it. Anything in your life, you've already set those limitations for yourself before. right? And so you have to give yourself grace that this is something that takes time. It's not something you're going to wake up tomorrow and just be like, oh my God, I believe in myself. But repetitively working on it every single day is what will get you there. But you can't, like those broken soundtracks been playing for so long. So long. You've believed you can't for so long before you even clicked the promoter button. You've believed that you weren't worthy before you clicked the promoter button. You believed that you were only capable of what other people placed on you before you clicked the promoter button. And so you can't give the problem 10 years and the solution 10 days, right? It's the same thing as somebody being overweight for 10 years and they're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm finally going to lose this weight. They get in the gym, they're eating right, they're drinking their water, they're exercising 10 days in and they're like, God, why am I not there yet, right? They gave the problem 10 years. The problem, this broken soundtrack has been playing for 10 freaking years. And they're over here on day 10 going, I don't think I can do it, right? You have to recreate that woman. You have to recreate that woman in your mind. And so your broken soundtrack has had a 10-year head start. So please know that. Imposter syndrome, a couple of things that I have dealt with, like personally, I'm not going to air my dirty laundry, but I will put some things out there, right? So a long time ago, I always said I'm not a runner. It's just not something that I was. I was a gymnast. I was a cheerleader. I was great at that, but I always I hated running. Even when we were in practice, I was like, I cannot, it's just not something that comes easy to me. But I will tell you, in May of 2014, I ran a half marathon. So I can't tell myself I'm not a runner, correct? Because I can go all my life thinking I wasn't a runner, thinking it was something I wasn't capable of, thinking it was something that was just so hard for me to do until I actually make the decision that I'm going to set forth for this goal, right? That was on me. That was something that I did. I said, I want to run a half marathon. I want to know what that feels like, right? Even though I had always said, I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. I'm going to run a half marathon. So what does that look like for me? That means I'm going to be running on this day, this day, this day. I am going to print out what it looks like to train for a half marathon, how many months I need to train for it, what days I'm going to be running. And there were days where I was running in the rain. It was not fun, but it was something that really helped me build myself and my self-belief in what I'm capable of doing. This is why I'm saying, I've told you guys before, you have to be able to trust yourself. Maybe you've said that you were going to do X, Y, and Z before, and you've never been able to accomplish it. Maybe you've said that you're going to lose weight, or you said that you're going to sign a promoter this month, or you said you're going to earn your free product credit and you've never been able to make it happen. You can't sit there and say that because you've never made it happen, that it's not possible for yourself. It's just you haven't set out that timeline for yourself of what it looks like to actually achieve that goal. And when you actually achieve it, when you actually run that half marathon, when you actually sign that promoter, or you earn your free product credit, you realize just how capable you really are of doing the things that you told yourself that you would do. And that's where confidence is grown. And that's where self-belief is grown. And that's where you start to change this soundtrack in your mind of what you used to think to, hey, no, I can actually do this, right? Another thing I used to say is I'm not a good mom because I was new in the game. I have 2 babies in diapers. They're 11 months apart. That was hard for me. It was a hard season, plus our work schedules and everything. I just always felt like I wasn't giving enough. I wasn't doing enough. And I was exhausted all the time, falling asleep on my babies, all that. But I internally always felt like I'm just not a good mom, especially when I look at my mother, who has been a saint my entire life. I'm so blessed for her. But I always look at her and I'm like, God, can I just be half of that? She is just amazing. I'm learning from her every single day. But who am I to put that on myself? Even as much as I love my mother, she's had more than a 10-year head start on me, correct? She's been there, done that so much longer. I was a newbie as a mom sitting here saying, I'm not a good mother. Shame on me for putting those beliefs on myself, right? It's something that takes Time. Number 3, I put, I'm not good at this business. I told myself that probably for my first entire year. Signed no promoters in my first 12 months. Okay, none, goose egg. Because I didn't believe I could do it. And I buried myself in trainings just like Karen did. And I buried myself behind the team chat, which has grown so much in the last 3 years. Can I tell you? We didn't even have unit videos, but I buried myself in training. I buried myself in hiding behind the scenes of what it meant to run my business. I started my self-development journey and I got sucked into that. And I sucked into it, but like I hid behind it. I hid behind it and I wouldn't post or I wouldn't go on my stories. I'd put up like a boomerang of my capsules. That's the only thing that was on my stories for the entire 24 hours, a little boomerang of my capsules, right? Is it a coincidence that I signed no promoters in my first 12 months? No. And so new seasons need new scoreboards. So if you're entering a season where you're becoming a new leader, guess what? You have a new scoreboard. You can't compare yourself to the person you've been before because this is a new season for you. This is a new challenge for you. This is a new growth chapter for you. Maybe you're in that chapter with your health and you're trying to get your fitness on track and you're trying to lose weight. New seasons require new scoreboards. You have to move forward, place those goals for yourself, figure out what it is that you're going to be doing on a daily basis is going to get you to that goal. I just finished The Slight Edge. It talks about that 1% better every single day, right? So he talks about like making these big goals for yourself. What are your big goals? What are some things that you can do that are going to help the process, right? So like, let's just use weight loss, for example. I know it's not business related, but it's easy to talk about. So let's just say my big goal is I want to lose 10 pounds, right? For I don't know, over the next 3 months or so. That's my big goal. Then what are some of the things that I'm going to do along the way? I'm going to eat better. I'm going to exercise, right? How many times per week am I going to exercise? These are the things you have to like really, really nitpick a little bit. How many times a week are you going to exercise? What kind of meals are you going to eat? Are you doing low carb? Are you doing keto? Are you doing intermittent fasting? What are you doing? Or are you actually writing down what you're eating? Or are you just willy-nilly in it? Maybe you're increasing your water intake. How many ounces are you going to drink in a day? Right? What are the things that you can do to get yourself there? And what's one thing that you can do, that you can implement every single day that will keep you on that upward curve to getting towards your goal? So maybe that's drinking more water, right? Maybe in building your business, let's say you want to sign one promoter, you want to welcome one promoter into the team for the month of June. What does that look like? Maybe you're doing at least one live video a week. Maybe you're finally stepping up and you're doing an opportunity live event where you're talking about the business and you're talking about your products. Maybe like, right? Like these are the goals along the way. What can you do every single day to get yourself to that goal? Maybe you show up face-to-face on your stories every single day on something, on the business, on the product, on life in general. What's one thing that you can do? Can you implement speaking life into her on your stories a little bit? Maybe you can touch like little tidbits behind the scenes of what you love about the business, what you love about the community, what you love about being here and what it does for you. Please know though, that like the feelings that you're having of inadequacy, the feelings that you're having of feeling like you're not worth it, that you can't do it, that you're not enough, those are normal feelings. Those are 100% normal feelings. A lot of people will run and hide and tuck their tails, and that's when they leave, like Karen was saying. But if you can recognize that these feelings are normal, I'm going to face it, right? I'm going to feel what I'm feeling. I'm going to write down my wins. I took some notes from M. She says, feel the feelings, write down your wins. And number 3 is keep going. So feel the feelings, know that what you're feeling is absolutely normal and you will get past it. Number 2 is write down your wins. So maybe you did go face-to-face on your stories today. Maybe you did get a sample out this week. Maybe you did finally go live for your business. Maybe what are those wins? Write them down. Maybe you did go to the gym. Maybe you did stay on top of your water, right? Write down your wins, no matter how small you think they are. They are a stepping stone to where you want to go in this business. A lot of people, they only look at, I'm signing a customer or I'm signing a promoter. Those are not all the wins we have in this business. We have wins where we sell samples. We have wins when we lead our team on Zoom. We have wins when somebody comes into your inbox and they're struggling with something and you can speak life into them, whether they're on your team or they're not. We have wins where we have this aha moment with self-development, right? These are small wins that you can write down too. Number 3 is keep going. So from the podcast I was listening to wrap this up, he says, so when you hear a broken soundtrack, what do? He says he does 3 things. He says, number 1, he asks himself, is this true? Is what I'm thinking true? Right? Is the fact that I'm thinking that I'm not good in this business, is that true? Or why am I feeling that? For me, it was because I'd never done this before. Is because I had avoided this industry before, because I was fearful of what it meant to be a part of this. And I was fearful of what everybody else was going to think about me. That's the truth. The truth isn't that I wasn't good in this business. That's something I was putting on myself so that I then didn't recognize what the truth was. Does that make sense? So number 1, is it true? Number 2, is it helpful? Is it helping you move forward in your business? That's how you can identify if it's a broken soundtrack or not. Number 3, is it kind? Is it something that you would tell a friend? Like I said earlier, we are our biggest critic, and your brain is meant to keep you safe. Your brain has no idea between the truth and a lie. And so you have to start feeding it. And so the story that you're creating when you're going from a broken soundtrack to a brand new soundtrack, that is like that new thought that I am a great leader. I am worthy of leading a team. I am capable of earning my free product credit this month. I am helping 2 people get started this month on their health journey. I am that advocate for them. I am here on purpose, right? These things that we tell ourselves. This is a new soundtrack. It's going to take some time. Like I said, give yourself grace. But this is what you have to baby. You have to feed it. You can't just get up and do I am affirmations one morning, skip it the rest of the week, and then on Friday you're like, oh yeah, I didn't do my I ams. I am a great leader. That's not how it works. Every single day you're recreating that soundtrack in your mind of what you want your brain to gravitate to, not the old junk, not the broken soundtrack. It's the new one. You baby it, you take care of it, you grow it. This is your responsibility to take care of it, because like I said, that soundtrack has had a 10-year head start. So you best be building this one. You best be strengthening this one and making sure that it grows right, correct? The story, I'll leave it with this. The story you hear the most in your entire life is the story you tell yourself about yourself. So when you're writing down those goals for June, pay attention to how you're treating yourself in your mind and whether or not you think that you're capable of it or not. Pay attention to that and say, is this helpful or is this not helpful? I can sell 10 samples this month. That brain goes, oh girl, you never done that before. Is this helpful or is it not? Is this true or is it not true? That is true. It doesn't matter if you've never sold 10 samples in a month before. It is true. It is helpful. It is something that can move you forward in your business. You have to play the new soundtrack and you have to play it full blast, is what I put. Turn that sucker up, play it full blast. And the last thing that I wrote down here that I thought was so powerful, he said, fear comes free, because we all have fears when we come in this business. We're all worried about whether people are going to think about us. We're all worried about whether we can or cannot do it. We're all worried about how long is it's going to take, and is it really something that works, and all these things, right? Can I do it? Am I enough? Are the two biggest questions that we ask ourselves all the time. And so we all come in with those fears. Fear comes free, but faith takes work. And not a lot of people are willing to work on that. And so that's something I can't do for you. Nobody can do for you, only you can. Or whether or not you're going to wake up every day and you are going to steward this business the way that God wants us to steward this business and use the wood that He's provided us to make that chair or to make that table, right, Karen? That's our responsibility. And so that's all I'm going to leave you with tonight. I know it's 52 minutes, but it was still a great Zoom. I love you guys. Go write down your goals for June. Let's put it in the chat what our goals are so that we can cheer each other on. Love you.